Hedgehog Hollow. Today I'm going to give you a tutorial on my global design project entry, which was casing the designer, so it's copy and selectively edit. This is what I came up with, this beautiful bird cage with some pearl designs and an acetate overlay. We're also going to do some stamping on vellum, and on the inside I'm going to show you how to make your own shimmering mini succulent. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to pop our sample card to the side for now. So the first thing you want, now depending as always what paper size you can get from Stampin' Up, I have some very vanilla. This is half a sheet of A4 because I had these still pre-cut, but you could use half a sheet of 8.5 by 11, and I've got some nail varnish on that side, so I'm going to put that to the inside so that I stick my insert onto it. Now the first thing I've done is I've cut a piece of the designer acetate to 1/8 all the way around, smaller than my card base. So the first thing I'm going to do is remember to take our protective backing off of this one. It's going to keep, there we go. And I'm going to stick this down with glue dots. I've tried lots of different methods. And then one thing I also do before I stick this down, because I've peeled that off, there's a lot of static on there, I just take my embossing buddy and run that over, and then I don't get any bowing on my card, and it sticks nicely as well. So that's a tip for you, is just to run your embossing buddy over. And then I'm going to just put a glue dot on each corner. The glue dots are incredibly strong, so one on each corner is plenty. And then I'm going to stick this over the top. Okay, so that's our card base there. I also have an insert piece which I've cut 1/4 of an inch off the top and 1/4 of an inch off the bottom. So if you watch our daily tips, you'll see I have these all pre-cut. And I'm just going to stick that down. My snail has run out. Let me just grab another one. Now I know for some this is a back to basics, but snails all have a refill. You don't have to buy a new snail each and every time. And all you do is pop it out of the packaging, take out this yellow piece. Now your snail has these two black pieces, top and bottom. Squeeze those together, pull it apart. This piece you discard. This piece you keep, and then you just slot it back together. It will click and you're ready to go again. So let's open that up and finish this. And then I'm going to stick that down in the middle. Okay, and that is all of our preparation done. So I'm going to pop this to the side so we've done all of our elements. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp our bird cage and birds. So let me grab the Bird Cage Builder stamp set out the New Occasions catalogue. I have a piece here of Very Vanilla, and so I have my bird cage element, so I have the top and the bottom piece. I have my high there, which we're going to do on the vellum. I need my birdies, there's 2 birds, and I need the stand to put them on, which is, I use this one. So that's all our elements that we're going to need from the stamp set. I'm just going to grab my Misty because I found that was the quickest way for me to do that, and I can show you how I did mine. You don't need to have a stamp press, but it's just something that, as you know, I have found useful recently. And I just thought I would mention, I don't know if you all subscribe to Jennifer Maguire, but she recommended laminating some of these sheets so that you can just wipe your ink off, and I found that to be a really useful thing to do. So first of all, we need to stamp our bird case base. So to do that, I'm going to put my bird case down. Doesn't matter where on the sheet you put it. If it's a new photopolymer, I do recommend that you wash it first because it will stick because of the manufacturing process. That was one of our tips a couple of weeks ago. So just ink that up nicely. Close it over. And then we're going to do the same with our top. I'm just going to give this a wipe over. This is a stamp chamois. This is something I normally use on here. So you soak it in water the first time you get it. I keep it in a little container on the side there. And then I stamp it just occasionally with my stamping mist, just to wipe off my misty. And occasionally if there's a stamp in between, just if I can't remember if I've cleaned it or not, then I will do that. Then I'm going to layer up the top here. Now everything I do use, as always, will be on a linked blog post, so you can just click the link in the bottom right corner. The box will expand and then you can do that. I line my my stamps up using tweezers, because I find if I put my fingers on them they stick to them, and then as soon as I lift my fingers up my stamp moves. So that is a top tip for you. I just use something to nudge it like that. And I'm going to close this over. Just inking it up on this side. This is the archival black Stampin' Up. Just use my chamois to take that off. Just one thing is, if you do have a misty, remember not to use it on this side, to use the Nouveau fluid. If you don't know what the Nouveau fluid is, again I'll link to that in the blog post so you can read about it. And then we have a lovely bird cage. So it's going to peel this side off. And then the next thing we want to do is our birds. So to do my birds, I am just going to do up my ink here. So to do my birds, I lay them first of all on my page, just like this. And here's my second bird, and I just want them almost kissing in the middle here. There we go. And I'm just going to grab my ink. So for these I use the Marina Mist. Let me just grab that one out here. So I'm going to pick up my two birds. Make sure that's in position still. I'm going to ink up with the Marina Mist, and you could use any colours. I just like the idea of having some blue birds. I'm a little bit OCD about worrying about these ink touching my project, so that's why I have this chamois. It works perfectly, and I do have the little container to keep it in. This is a salt saver. Again, I'll give you a link for it, but it just means there's a little bit of air gets in, so it doesn't get mouldy or smelly or anything like that. So I stamp my birds down, and I'm going to do that once more just to make them a little bit stronger. And the stamp chamois is great. I stick mine in the washing machine whenever I wash my cleaning rags, and it comes out as good as new. It never gives me any residue or anything like that, so I do definitely recommend that to you. So that's that. And then the last thing we want to do, and I'm going to use the basic grey, so I'm just turning my around here. Sorry, Smoky Slate. That's what I had out. And then to do that, so what I did was I laid my dots on here, and I'm going to use my tweezers again because otherwise it's going to stick to me. Like this. So I laid it until I was happy with it, and then I close the lid of my misty, lift it up. Oh, this is the issue with really fine photopolymers. Let's try that again. I'm just going to use a block on this because we're in a video. I'm spending loads of time on it, so I'm just going to pick it up with a block. Now what I did was, because I don't want my line to go all the way across, I grabbed a little bit of painter's tape, just the low tack that I always use. It now comes in a purple colour rather than the yellow. And what I did was I put some tape over one half, ink up my stamp. You'll see that gets really inky. Then I lift it off, and then when I stamp down, it's effectively masked, and I can stamp it in the middle between my two birds, like that. So that works perfectly. So this low tack painter's tape is great for all sorts of things. Then I'm going to take this out for now. I'm going to put my misty away. And the next thing we want to do is we want to cut this out. So to cut it out, I use the stitch framelets, which are here. I'm going to use the biggest stitched framelit, and I'm going to line it up just like that. And you'll find that this piece just here, oh, I've moved it, so these two ends of it will fit perfectly. When they fit perfectly in the aperture that you can see, you know that you're just in the right place. Okay, so let's use some of my surgical tape here. And I'm just going to stick that down so that when I move it over to the big shot, which is slightly out of shot, you could also use the magnetic plate. I'll send you a link to that. The magnetic plate is absolutely awesome. But I do like the surgical tape as well. And then when I pop that out, I've got a beautiful stitched edge, and then it cuts out my oval as well. Again, let's pop those out the way. And then next up, we are going to do a calypso coral piece here. So I have a, where's my scrap gone? So I'm going to use the scalloped oval, and I'll just double check that's the right size one. Would not be the first time now. Slightly bigger one. So I think this, if I remember correctly, is the largest scalloped oval. I had two on the top. That's for another video I'll be doing. And I'm going to use a piece of my calypso coral. I'm just going to grab that here, and we're just going to cut that out on there, and it can be anywhere. You don't need to take that down anywhere in particular. So I'm just going to lay this on and put that through the big shot. It's a bit stiff today. There we go. And I'm just going to layer these two up using some snail. Like so. So you just see those little scallops out. And then we also need to do our high there. So for that I have a 1-inch strip of vellum and a 1.5-inch strip of the calypso coral. Again, don't worry if you haven't caught all of these, because the links will be on the blog. And then I'm going to use the banner triple, and I just pre-do this beforehand. And to save on paper, I always just turn it over, make sure my paper's snug against the guides, and then as soon as it comes through on the other end, I clip it out. Because if you do it all the way down there, you lose about 1 inch of your paper. And when I make lots of things for school and that really adds up. And when I'm at it, I'm just going to do the end on this. So again, turn it over, snug against the guides, and we are done. So now I'm going to stamp my high there. To stamp my high there, I'm going to use an acrylic block. This is one that came with one of the kits, I think. I'm going to use my high there. Now when you have a straight photopolymer, and the longer it is, the more important this is, rather than taking it and sticking it on your block, you'll never get it quite straight. It tends to have a curve on it. If you put it down on your surface, it'll be loose, and then pick it up with your block, and then it'll be nice and straight. So I'm just going to ink that up again with the archival black, and I'm going to stamp that down on here like so. And I'm just going to peel that out the back. And I'm going to put those to the side because I have a bad habit with these. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out where I want to cut, and I'm going to just use my snips. These are my cool Fiskars scissors. And I'm just going to cut across like so. And then for the vellum, I'm going to use my glue dot method, which I showed you last time. So let me grab my roll of glue dots here. And just because I'm doing it on the video and I'm doing it very quickly, I'm going to heat set just very briefly the archival, just so I don't smudge it. On vellum, things will take slightly longer to dry because it's not as porous as paper. So if you're working quickly or you just want to keep going rather than stop, I suggest just heat setting it, and you'll see the sheen comes off of it. And that's literally all it needs, just those few seconds. So I'm going to put my glue dots on, firstly, my eye of my high. because I'm going to put a pearl over that so you won't see it. And I'm going to put one on the exclamation mark of my there, because again you won't see it. And then I'm going to line my two edges up and stick it down. There we go. Excuse my sniffling, I have got a bit of cold. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our pearl details. So to add our pearl details, let me just grab my sheet, draw a stack of pearls. So here's my sheet. Now to do that, I added a large pearl here on the high. Oops. I added a smaller one down here on the exclamation mark. There we go. And you could even them up, or you could play with them even more. And then I used these long lines of pearls. Now to do this, I started at one end, and then I just slowly worked my way along, and I snip it at the other end. And I'm going to do the same along the top here. I think that just adds a really nice little detail. Now I have, you can see here, I've run out, that's fine. I've got some more strips here, and I'm just going to marry that up. So I'll stick that there and there. We'll just have the two, and I'll snip just in the middle there. And then once they're on, you do have a little bit of time to kind of fiddle around with them and just get them into the right place. And I'm fairly happy with that. Let's push that one up slightly. So that's our pieces there. And then this bit's the fun bit. So we get to assemble our card. So with some foam squares, I added some extra dimension. So firstly, I just put a few of these hexagons around my oval. And where do we put our card base? Over here. And I'm going to try to make sure this week that I get it on the correct way round. And we're going to stick that in the upper part, central. Now my high there, you will notice if I put it to the side, it's actually higher. Now to do that, I used the foam strips that we always use for shaker cards. So let me grab those here. And I just like some added dimension. If you were going to send this in the mail, it would be one of the extra postage cards. And I would probably put it in a padded envelope as well because of all the little details we're adding to it. So there we go. Like so. And then I lined this edge up with the edge of my acetate. And I stuck that on. And the final detail that we need to do on the front is a little lace bow. So to do my bows, I take the ribbon on the spool, I make 2 loops, and I just knot those together, one over the other, and pull them through. And then the lace is slightly more difficult to work with than regular ribbon, but I then just fiddle with it, keep pulling it smaller and smaller, and you'll actually want to make these loops smaller than you want them, because when you pull back, you always get a little bit extra than you think. So I'm not going to fiddle with it too much on the video, but I'll just make them nice and even at least. And then I just snip my ends, put that to the side, pull your tails down so that they're nice and snug. That's what I always do to make sure my bows keep nice form. And then on the back of that I use a glue dot. And we're going to stick that on the top as though it's hanging our beautiful bird cage. So now we want to do our insert. So to do my insert, I have a piece of the Very Vanilla again. So if you recall, this Calypso coral piece was 1/4 of an inch shorter than my card and 1/4 of an inch less wide than my current card. And I've done the same with this, so it's another 1/4 of an inch in, so you have around about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. As always, your cutting recipe and all the products I use from all different sources will be on my blog. And now we're going to do our inside. So to do that, I need a scrap piece of paper. Let me just grab one of my pieces here. And the first thing I'm going to use is my Timeless Textures. Now the card that I copied had some of the chicken wire type effect, but I wanted to use a more rustic, so I went for the wood, and I did that in some crumb cakes. Let me just grab my crumb cake, and then to do that, grab another block like this, and I'm just going to ink up my crumb cake, and then I worked from the corner just like this, and overlap it slightly, just so that you get this nice little corner detail, and you can go in as deep as you would like. I'm going to go, and it doesn't matter if you overlap because it won't notice at the end. So that's how I'm going to go this far on this one. And please excuse my snuffles. It's very cold here. I think that's got something to do with it. And then I use the designer tin of cards for the Sending Love. So let's just grab that one out, and I use my basic black archival again. So again, when I do a sentiment, I lay it down and I pick it up with my block so that I know it's going to be as straight as it possibly can be. Let's grab the basic black from here. Just a couple for luck, because I'm not doing it in my stamp press. And then I'm going to just stamp that down in the middle, like so. And then I'm going to stick this to the inside of my card. So I'm just going to use some snail. So sorry. Right. And then the last thing that we need to do is we're going to make our mini succulent. So to make our succulent, we're going to use some old olive, or you could use some wild wasabi, and some Calypso coral. And all we need to do is punch out one set in our Calypso coral, like so. Here we go. And we're just going to use the spiky flowers from that. And then the green, we're going to just use the smaller one. So I'm just going to do that in the corner there. There we go. And we're going to use exactly the same techniques as we do on the succulents from the new succulent set. Just open my Dauber box here, which there we go, can't do it upside down. And a few of you have asked about this, so again I will link to this in the blog post where you can get one of those. And I've got some old olive ink, and I've got some rich raspberry ink. Now the one thing I do with these is I grab my bone folder and just very gently just go from the middle out and manipulate. So what you do by this is break down the fibres in the paper, so that in a minute when we're all done you can flick these up and you won't get any tearing. I'm going to do the same on the bigger one, like this. And we'll do all our faffing once we've put our colours on, and just do the same with the middle one as well. Just be careful because they're quite delicate. So I tend to hold the middle and then just very gently curl it round. And then we are going to do our sponging. So I start with my old olive. I'm going to open up my rich raspberry at the same time, and this can only end in disaster having two open ink pads. And I'm going to take my old olive and I'm just going to go all over. This is the wild wasabi, but on the first one I also used old olive. And I just want to add a little bit of texture. I don't know how easily you can see that. It's just some bits that are slightly darker. And I also do the green on the Calypso coral because it just adds a little bit of colour to them and a little bit of other depth. And you could go with whatever colours you wanted. You could go with some white to pick up some nice highlights. You could go really distressed. You could spritz them if you wanted to. That's another option you would have. So I'm just going to, I just want to make them look realistic. And then I'm just going to go straight into my rich raspberry for this. So I'm just going to pick up some of that. And then the rich raspberry I just put literally on the tip, so you can see here I'm just, what would you call it, kissing the tips here. And you can go as dark as you like, but I just want this one to be quite subtle. So again, I'm just going to go all the way around, touching your tips. And the same on the green. And the green I go a little bit more intense because that's the middle of the flower. And that's where the stamens would have been. So you can see that most of that has got some of the raspberry on it. So I'm just going to put these together. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble. So I'm going to take some more glue dots and I'm going to stick my, so put one on here and stick it down. And I'm going to take one on here. Oh, that's on the wrong side. And I'm going to stick it down. And then I'm going to just use my fingers to flick up the pieces of my flower. You can see here I'm just going around. I'm going to do the same slightly in the middle. I'm just going to pick up the tips of those petals. I just get my finger in there and I just flick it up. Finger in, flick it up. And the next thing we want to do is we want to put a pearl in the middle. So let me just grab my pearls. I'm going to open those up and I use one of the smaller sizes. Let's see if I can get this right today. And I just didn't find it was quite sticky enough, so just because they're quite heavy and I've already got an ink surface, I just added an extra glue dot. That's probably just me being overcautious. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our Wink of Stella. So this is the clear Wink of Stella, so I'm just going to give it a little shake. And then what I did was I just ran it along the tips like this. So you just get a little bit of shimmer. Don't want too much, but just that little bit of shimmer like that. Hopefully the camera will pick that up. And then I also used it on my little birds on the front. So all I did was I just outlined them blue. I left their wings so that you can see a difference. And I also did the little piece along here. I just drew a little line along there. Some extra glitz. And then our final step is I put 2 glue dots on this just because it is heavy. Just make sure I'm in the right place. There we go. And then I stuck that onto our rustic piece. And that is our card all finished. So we have 2 kissing bluebirds for Valentine's Day, or you could do it as a hi there. You could do it, hope you feel better soon. There's so many different uses you can do for this, and you could change out the sentiment depending on the occasion. So thanks for stopping by. Happy stamping. We'll see you again soon, and don't forget to visit the blog for all your cutting instructions and a list of all the supplies I used. Bye.